This week, I'm going to be addressing the most common complaints found in the comments section of my last video, and I'll also be going over each point I made in more detail to hopefully clear up some misconceptions about my thought process and basically sound like I'm not crying about stuff just to cry about it. Before we move on, I'd just like to mention that just because I don't follow esports or watch Overwatch esports regularly does not mean I'm not allowed to criticize it. There are millions of people that don't follow politics as much as politicians, yet they still criticize them and the government about everything that happens. I also would like to reiterate that these are my opinions. I guess some people missed it in the last video. For all of you that did, here's a clip. Let's talk about why I believe Overwatch is not esports ready. Let's talk about why I believe Overwatch is not esports ready. Let's talk about why I believe. See, the whole video was about why I believe Overwatch is not esports ready. The whole video was about why I believe the Overwatch League will fail. Since these 4 reasons are my opinions, I can be as subjective as I want, because that is what a subjective thing is. It's an opinion. An opinion is subjective. Just fucking deal with it. Let's move on. I've noticed that most of the hate I received came from the comments I left about why I didn't think you can learn anything from Overwatch professionals. I used Jake's gameplay from the Overwatch Cup last year as an example in my video. I brought up the fact that Jake didn't switch off Pharah despite missing his shots against another, and that he should have switched to a hitscan character because a hitscan character will counter Pharah. I also mentioned that Jake has played Soldier 76 more than Pharah, so it would only make sense for him to play someone he's good with. In response to this, I was told that I was retarded and that Pharah is basically needed on Oasis because 76 gets countered in the dive meta and performs horribly on this map. I don't know about you, but when I play McCree or Soldier 76 on Oasis against Dive or a Pharah or a Pharmacy, I do okay. But that's not the point. The point is, Jake not playing 76 in that exact situation isn't the reason why I do not believe you can learn anything from Overwatch professionals. It's the fact that he was underperforming on a character he doesn't regularly play and refused to switch off Pharah. And that's just one of the reasons why. But let's talk about this one first. If she is needed like everybody says, why not let someone else play her if she's that important on Oasis? There are 6 players on the team. You mean to tell me that out of 6 players, only one of them can play Pharah somewhat decently? You mean to tell me that out of the 5 other players on a professional Overwatch esports team, no one told Jake or asked Jake if they could switch with him? You mean to tell me that Jake couldn't play any other role on the team? At that skill level, that doesn't make any sense. That just, come on. Some people brought up the fact that Jake didn't switch to another hero because ultimate economy is very important, which is true. However, during the second map on Nepal, he wasted a rocket barrage while he was separated from his team while he was at half health. Instead of saving it for the next team fight in hopes of, comboing it with another hero, he just threw it out without any kind of assistance from anyone on his team. Pharah can easily take out a team in tight corridors with her rocket barrage, but trying to attempt this without any support is just plain stupid. In the Eichenwald match, Jake started off with Junkrat on defense and died to Pharmacy in the first push. Just as South Korea captures the point, he switches to McCree. I personally thought this was a smart move, but apparently McCree and Soldier 76 do not counter Pharmacy. Well, at least that's what the comments section told me in the last video. If this is the case, why did Jake pick McCree? I guess Jake isn't as good as we thought. I guess random people in the comments section know better than him, a professional who plays this game for a living. I'm not trying to be a dickhead, nor am I focusing on Jake because I have a grudge against him. I don't know him, I've never played with him, and I'll probably never play against him. The reason why I chose Jake was because he was the one player the casters spent most of the time on during the US versus South Korean games. Plain and simple. If the casters focused on another player, I would have probably done the same thing to the other guy. As someone who doesn't regularly watch competitive matches, as someone who gave the esports scene a chance during the Overwatch World Cup last year, and the first week of the Overwatch League recently, seeing professionals make these, as most people would call them, bronze mistakes bothers me to no end. Like I said in the text pop-up in my last video, how can I expect to learn from people who are professionals if they do not counterpick and make mistakes that others would criticize people heavily for? Do these people automatically get a break because they're the best of the best? I don't know, man. In fact, I think they deserve to be criticized the most, seeing as they are, the best of the best. They represent the best players in the league. They represent the best players in Overwatch. You may think otherwise, and that's fine, but hey, that's my opinion, so deal with it. Okay, now the question remains. What does all of this have to do with my 4 reasons why I believe Overwatch is not esports ready? Well, nothing. Maybe I should have left that part out and used it as another video topic. It wasn't the best decision I've made putting that before my list of reasons, but hey, at least I didn't lie about my experience or thoughts about competitive Overwatch like other people do. At least I'm not a YouTuber that goes around advertising that they're an Overwatch coach when they can't even tell the difference between Gold and Borderline Masters gameplay that was recorded in Quick Play after 2 weeks of not playing Overwatch, no less. Alright, with that out of the way, let's once more go over the 4 reasons why I believe the Overwatch League will fail. Reason number 1, the game is not exciting to watch. Before everyone starts screaming in the comments section like children that this cannot be a reason because it's subjective and therefore an opinion, I clearly stated multiple times and a few seconds ago that these are the 4 reasons why I believe the Overwatch League will fail. One of the reasons why I believe the game is not exciting to watch is because it is difficult to watch. Some of you may think otherwise, and that's fine, but if this was not true, if it was not difficult to watch at some point, why would Blizzard rework the spectator system and add team colors? And this isn't my only point. Why would the game need casters to explain each and every detail that is happening on screen? To hype up a match, of course, but to also explain what the hell is going on. Like I said in the last video, it's in a better place now, but that doesn't mean that it's still easy for everybody to watch. The game needs to be easy for everyone to watch if it's going to be popular, if it's going to be successful. The game is filled with particle effects that shoot out everywhere from every ability, which in my opinion makes things hard to follow when things get heated. Imagine playing Winston. His gun already takes up half the screen. You're being bubbled by your friendly Zarya. You're stuck in a graviton surge, and the enemy Hanzo shoots his ultimate at you. You can't see shit. That is exactly what I'm talking about. The game is easy to follow when nothing happens or when there are just a few small tussles here and there. But when the shit hits the fan and the team fight breaks out and everyone's spamming their ultimate, that's when things get hard to watch. In fact, I was so fucking lost last night because I got stuck in about 3 or 4 ultimates as Roadhog. Besides the extreme amount of particle effects that block your vision, the weapon models, like I mentioned, are just so fucking big. They take up almost half of the screen, which gets distracting, by the way, and the HUD can get in the way sometimes as well, like when attacking Numbani. And unlike any other FPS, the player is locked to a smaller field of view, making the area of visibility less than other games. Not only this, but in my opinion, Overwatch is also not exciting to watch because of the stale meta. Now before we get into this, if you've been with me for a while now, you'd know that I schedule my videos well in advance. This video was done and uploaded days before the Overwatch League went live. So for all of you screaming at me that just about every hero was used in the Overwatch League so far, you have to understand that the Overwatch League didn't start yet by the time this video was finished. You may not believe it, but as I've said in my channel update videos as well as on my own Discord server multiple times, I create videos in short bursts when I have free time and then schedule each one to be released a week apart. A lot of people watching the video did not know this, and that's fine. Another thing I'd like to bring up is that people actually thought I was being literal when I said that only 8 or so heroes were being used every goddamn time. Really? Do you think I actually meant in the literal sense that only 8 heroes out of 26 would be used? Come on now, that's ridiculous. Originally in the video I said that out of 26 heroes, only Lucio, Mercy, Tracer, Genji, Winston, Diva, Bastion, Widowmaker, and Soldier 76 were picked in the competitive games. What I meant to say was Zenyatta, Mercy, Tracer, Genji, Diva, and Winston were picked in every game. In all seriousness though, one kind viewer, instead of screeching at me like an easily triggered SJW, countered my claim and provided me with an image showing the amount of time each hero was used during the recent Overwatch League matches. Thanks for being level-headed. It's good to see that some of you can actually debate like normal human beings instead of raging like baboons. Here is the picture in question. Clearly here it says that more than 8 heroes were used. You see the proof? I see the proof. It's all right here. Unfortunately, this also proves my second point, which is the fact that the meta is stale. Look at this list. This chart takes into account every single game played by every single team in the Overwatch League so far. I don't know about you, but to me, and a lot of other people, 5 heroes being pretty much a mandatory pick in order to win, with every other hero filling the 6th slot on a team, does not seem like a diverse meta. Slow balancing means the meta stays, and when the meta stays, it gets stale. And when the meta gets stale, it gets boring. In my opinion! Can you honestly sit there and tell me that the same 5 heroes, with the exception of a niche pick or 2, being present almost in every single game is not boring? I'm not saying Zenyatta, Tracer, Devo, Winston, and Mercy are OP. Well, maybe Mercy. But do you really think this is fair? Do you really think this is a diverse meta? These heroes are used for a reason, because they are better than the rest of the cast. Until the majority of the cast is usable in any situation, against any team composition, the meta is not diverse. For fuck's sake, the definition for diverse literally means showing a great deal of variety. Very different. 4 or 5 heroes being played out of 26 in total, more than 3/4 of the time, is not diverse. Moving on to number 3. The game is missing competitive elements. So, some people that actually sat through the entire video agreed with me, despite calling me every name imaginable in the big book of curse words. At least I have that going for me. For those of you who disagreed with me the first time around, let me explain further what I mean by missing competitive elements. In order for a game to be taken seriously as a competitive one, at least from the player side of things, it needs to act and appear as one. What do games like Dota 2, CSGO, and League of Legends have in common? They all have a scoreboard. They all have the team's status displayed somewhere on the screen. Let's start with the scoreboard. The lack of a scoreboard means that you cannot fully understand how the game is progressing. You can't see for sure who's the biggest problem on the enemy team. You can't even be sure who the weakest link is. If you're playing competitive, and a Hanzo main thinks he's helping by having gold eliminations at 5, but he's died twice as much as anybody else on your team, and you need a second tank, you really can't do anything by calling him out without a scoreboard, because he'll just scream gold elims, and make it seem like to everybody else on the team, including himself, that he's actually doing something. Now, unless you were paying attention and keeping track of everyone's deaths, you'd never know for sure whether or not he's actually the biggest fuck up on your team. For all you know, the Mercy could actually be the problem by not healing everybody enough. Now, let's say that your entire team agrees that Hanzo is the reason why your team is doing jack shit. Whether or not he's intentionally sucking ass through a straw is irrelevant. What is relevant, though, is the fact that if you had a scoreboard, everyone would be able to see who's not contributing enough to your team instead of randomly blaming everybody else but themselves. Now, this isn't to say the addition of a scoreboard will stop toxicity, because there surely would be people that use it as a tool to insult other players, but with the addition of a scoreboard, you would definitely see less people defending their shittiness by saying how many gold medals they have. Currently, you can't even figure out for real who has the gold medals anyway, because the only way you'd know for sure who has them is if it's you. If anything, having gold medals is more toxic than having a scoreboard. Moving on to the next competitive element missing from the competitive game mode is the team status displayed somewhere on the screen. When I play competitive Overwatch, I do not want to be forced to ask my teammates what their ultimate charge is if they are not in team chat, or refuse to get into team chat. I do not want to be forced to constantly press tab to check if their ultimate is ready because it takes my focus off the game. I do not want to be forced to press tab to check if one of my teammates died if I so happen to miss it in the kill feed for some reason. And lastly, I do not want to be forced as a healer to have to turn around just to see one of my teammates' health bars should they be out of my field of view. All of these problems that happen on a daily basis could easily be avoided if they just added the team's status display to the HUD during regular competitive games. It's already programmed and usable in the game in both Junkenstein's Revenge and Uprising, and the spectator mode now shows this as well. How come those of us that want to play the game competitively, how come those of us that want to see the team status at all times cannot do this and are not given this feature? It would do absolutely no harm and only benefit everybody. Counter-Strike does this to some extent, showing the players who've died at all times, and even Paladins does this as well. So the real question is, why can't Overwatch? As for the clan system, it would just make it easier for players to find other like-minded individuals to group up with for competitive games. There wouldn't be a need to go on a random website and post your info to try to, find a team and, try to get everybody online and do everything, it just makes it a lot easier if everything can be done in the game. And finally, reason number 4. Blizzard is trying to control and force an esports scene. Funny enough, a lot of people agreed with me on this reason too. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't even get past the first part about Jake, so I guess I'll summarize this part up quickly since the video is long enough as it is. An esports scene cannot be forced. It must grow naturally from player interest and accessibility. Now that a ton of people have lost interest due to the lack of balancing and updates in general, the only way a competitive scene can thrive is through accessibility, which Blizzard has also removed. Blizzard has limited the way tournaments can be held locally, limited the amount of prize money that can be rewarded, and even limited which companies can help sponsor these events. They even limit when the tournaments can be live streamed. This makes it very difficult for people interested in playing tournaments to do so, at least on an amateur level. If you'd like to read more about why I and many other people believe that the esports scene is forced, lacking accessibility, and as one player from the Overwatch forum calls it, forced into existence with money, feel free to check out the links I provided in the description below. They go much more into detail than I could and explain things better than I could as well. As of right now, a lot of people would rather have the game properly balanced and fine-tuned instead of having esports pushed down their throats. Just take a look through the forum and you can clearly see that many people do not care about esports in the slightest or think that fixing the game should be Blizzard's top priority. Blizzard just thinks that they can continuously throw money at something until it fixes itself, and that isn't how things work. Quoting the Reddit post I found once more, let's look at why StarCraft 2 failed. The casuals left because Blizzard were very slow to make balance changes, something that we have been experiencing lately, and the competitive scene has died because Blizzard allowed people from South Korea to represent teams and locations other than South Korea, and also tried to take control of the esports scene, which discouraged any other tournament or match to be watched that isn't officially held by Blizzard. This is also happening as we speak. Now onto the last bit everyone likes to attack me over. Remember how I said that there was no way 350,000 people would watch the Overwatch League, and that how I said the view count was inflated, and that how I bet Blizzard bribed Twitch to bump up the numbers? Well, I intended it to be a joke to rack things up, but now that I actually looked into it, I wasn't surprised to find that at least half the views were from people that only watched it to get free skins. People were spamming fake get skin and other joke commands the entire time, and yeah, while it was just a joke, other people that just came into the stream didn't think so, leading them to do it as well, which in the end leads to even more people doing it as well. Like, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, when somebody pretends to be a retard and enough people pretend to be retarded, when a new person joins that group and sees that being retarded is the norm, they are going to be retarded to fit in as well. That's just how things are. I don't have any footage of the chat going bananas over fake commands, but I do have a few links in the description that ask why people were doing it to begin with. Aside from people only interested in skin drops, I'm sure there were tons of other people that were genuinely curious about all the hubbub, because Blizzard just fucking advertised the league everywhere anyway, both in-game and in real life. Hell, I didn't even bring up the fact that the Overwatch League tab automatically plays the stream and continues to play it even if you close the Battle.net launcher or start a game. But hey, what do I know? I'm just making shit up.
London Spitfire, and we know how dangerous that squad has been. Coming up next, we're going to see the New York XL, the unbeaten New York XL, face off against Valiant. But before we get to that, we have to crown our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. And of course, we had to go with a man not named Linkster. It's Jake on our screen this time.
That pretty much wraps it up. Like I said before, I do hope the Overwatch League succeeds because only good things can come from it. If it fails, it's going to be regarded as the biggest failure of the esports scene ever. If the Overwatch League fails, we'll probably never see another league made as big as this. All I can hope for is that Blizzard eventually fixes these problems I brought up before it's too late. Hopefully this time around I made more sense instead of just throwing out wild claims without any reasoning or proof to back them up. But hey, I'm sure a lot of people already made up their minds about what they think of me. Like I said in the other video, everyone makes mistakes. I admit I did. We're only human after all. That's it for this week. What do you think about the Overwatch League? Did this clear things up a bit better? Let me know how you feel in the comments section below. Just remember that I do not remove any comments left on my videos, whether they're mean or not, because I believe that this topic does require a great amount of discussion. I want Overwatch to improve. The only way the game can improve is if people come up with ideas to fix it. As always, leave a like if you thought it was somewhat entertaining, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already if you like what you see. I currently upload one video each Sunday, so be sure to visit again next week. As I mentioned in the video multiple times, in the video description you will find links to numerous sources that I've used as references to help create this video, so feel free to check those out. And there's also a Discord link in the description if you'd like to hang out with me and the other raging bitch babies on my server. We post outdated memes, lots of porn, and play video games sometimes if you're into that sort of stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching, I hope I cleared some things up, and I hope to see you next week. Later.